Hello all, welcome back to Career with Vasanth YouTube channel. My name is Vasanth. I hope you all doing well. So this is a very important video where I'm going to discuss top 10 snippet driven JavaScript interview questions. These questions are of medium to hard difficulty. For freshers it's again close to hard difficulty. For experienced person it could be of medium to hard difficulty. So the whole point of making this video is not that you guess an output which is right or wrong. It's probably help you to understand the concept in depth. So most of the time whenever snippet driven questions are asked in the interview, let's say the output could be a function that returns 3 and 4 and you'd say the output as 4, which is the right answer, no interviewer will shortlist you. You need to be able to justify why it is 4 and not 3. That's the whole purpose of this interview, this particular session, where I'm going to basically explain the snippets and in depth like why that particular output is coming. Okay, without wasting further time, let's get started. If you see me first time on the internet, I'm Vasanth. I create content in front end and interview preparation. Please subscribe to my channel Career with Vasanth. Let's get started. So I have exercise number 1 here. So which is very simple, looks very simple. So where we have a create counter and we have like two variable, counter 1 and counter 2. I could zoom in a little bit for make you a little easy. So we have a counter 1, like variable called counter 1, variable called counter 2, and we have a function create counter, and we are calling it in line number 12, 13 and 14. Okay, so where we are calling counter 1 and counter 2. Okay, if you know the answer, okay, please mention like question number 1 and your answer in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to review and tell whether that was the right answer or not. If not, definitely you can wait for my answer. Okay, so I'm running. So the output is 1, 2 and 1. Okay, like I told, it's not about output. Let's dig deeper like why it is 1, 2 and 1. So whenever you create a counter 1, we are calling this function called create counter, which is returning this function, correct? So if you know, by the property of closure, this return function will have access to the count value. In very simple words, closure means inner function having access to the value of outer scope variable, correct? I'm not using very fancy terms, lexical scope and all. If inner function can access outer scope variable, that is called closure in very simple words. So we are returning a function and that function is basically is present on the counter, correct? So here if you see, whenever you're calling the counter first time, you're nothing but you're invoking this function, correct, which is actually returning the value of count after incrementing it. So value of count was 0 before, and after incrementing, it's a post increment. Even if it would have been a pre-increment, same value I think we would have got. So the value of count became 1 here. We are calling the same function again because of the property of closure. Closure, you know it, consider closure like a box. Okay, so that box knew the value of count 1 when that box was locked, and whenever you call the box, only then the value of box would change. And let's say the whatever was outside, let's change to anything, this box is unaffected. Okay, consider it like a pilot, that whatever that one black box will be there, right? Whenever the airport flight crashes, that black box basically captures all the information and it doesn't know what happened to flight, whether it is flight landed properly or it crashed. It only knows like capturing. That way the closure is correct. So now counter 1 basically giving the value of 1 and 2, because second time whenever you're invoking, it knew the value counter got incremented by 1. Now it's incrementing by 1 more, which is making it to 2. And the thing is like counter 2, right? Counter 2 also you're returning the function. The difference that you need to note here is whatever the counter 1, the closure formed, right, that is different than whatever the counter 2 formed. The value of counter 2 whenever it is formed, the count value is 0 only. So every time it is creating a new instance basically. Okay, so counter 2, the default value of count was 0, so it returned a value of 1 whenever you call it. So let's say I call the counter 2 once again, I would be getting the values same 1 and 2. Okay, I hope most of you were able to answer this correctly. Let's go to exercise number 2. Okay, which is slightly little more complicated but not like very complicated. Okay, so we have a function called fetch data and we have something called a process data. Okay, so fetch data, as you can see, I've mocked an API call implementation where I'm returning a promise which basically sends I have a set timeout inside that particular promise which wait for like 1 second, and then I have like constant data, so where I'm resolving the data. Okay, and I have a process data which is again returning another promise. Okay, and inside this what I am actually doing is whatever the data that I have resolved, I am making an uppercase of it. Okay, let me zoom out so that you can see the complete snippet once. And from this here, line number 19, which is basically a trigger point, I'm calling a function called fetch data, passing this URL, then I have a catch. Okay, again if you know the answer, please mention question number 2 and your answer in the comment section. Let me answer if you don't know. If you are not able to answer like question by question, at least by end of the video answer like how many questions you are able to answer correctly without watching my answer. Okay, now if I have to give a right answer to this, let me run. So we waited for 1 second and then we got like data retrieved, correct? Let's see again. 1, maybe then after that a 0.5 second, which is a 500 millisecond here. So then we got like data retrieved. So what happened? So first is like this then executed after fetch data. So fetch data basically took 1 second and it resolved the data, which is like data retrieved, a string. And then we came to the another then where we actually pass, no, I'm sorry. Then we came to the first then where we pass this process data, that is data retrieved here, which took another 500 millisecond, which is half a second. And then actually all it did was it converted the value whatever you passed into uppercase and returned it, okay? And then we will basically log it in another the then here, okay? Putting other way, you could see like the return value of a promise is passed to another promise, okay? See, line number fetch data is a promise and we returned a value that was passed to this line number 28 done, and process data is another promise, okay? So two promise we could call in this particular operation where we got the value of the data retrieved. So what is the takeaway from this? Let's say you would have used async and await, right? How you would have solved it? You have to call await fetch data, again you have to call await process data, correct? Instead of that, we could use just one promise dot then to, like, you can use only one promise and then 2 times to achieve whatever is required, correct? So this is the advantage of using the promises in some cases whenever you have to do the multiple operation depending on the promise response, okay? We'll quickly go to exercise number 3. Looks very simple. If you know the answer, again mention that in the comment section. So we have like function greet and function say hi, correct? So you're calling the greet from the line number 1 and from line number 12 you're calling say hi, okay? What is the expected output for this? We could even interpret without running as well. So greet is a function, normal function, so which is hoisted, so you can call it from anywhere basically. So you're calling, passing it as John, so hello John will be printed. Say hi is a function which is a arrow function, definitely it is not hoisted. So whenever you can call it only after it is getting declared. So whenever you call from here you get hi there. So hello John and hi there will be the output, okay? Hello John and hi there is the output, which is exactly as expected, okay? Now let's say you want to make like understand the property of closure properly. You can mention the say hi here, okay? Which if you run 1 second, I did not save maybe. Observe carefully here, you are saying like say hi before the initialization, because say hi cannot be accessed before it's declared, because the arrow functions or the function declaration, this block is basically is not hoisted, so you'll not be able to call it even before it is declared. If you don't know hoisting, I have a very dedicated series on basics of JavaScript. That link will be there in the description. Please go ahead and read. Please go ahead and watch that particular video where I explain the hoisting in detail, okay? That link I'll put in the description if possible also on the screen, so please go ahead and watch. Now I'm going to exercise number 4, okay? Very simple snippet, but you have to think very carefully before answering, okay? So let me zoom in a bit. So I have a mystery function called mystery, which takes a value x, could be of any type. So where I'm checking like type of x is number. If number, then I'm converting it to a string, okay? See, if you see here, type of x is equal to number, okay? And then I have type of x equal to string, then I return the parse int of x, okay? And then finally I'm returning unknown, okay? If you're someone who never know what is the difference between parse int and number, but at least after this video go and check the difference between parse int and number. Both are used for actually type conversion, but there is a difference. That is also another important interview question, okay? Now whenever I call a mixed tree, first I'm passing the true, second I'm passing an array, third I'm passing a null. Again, by now at least some light has been lamped on your brain and you're able to answer. Please mention the question number 4 and your answer. If not, let me run the code, okay? So the answer for all is unknown. Definitely it is very straightforward. Some of the times the snippets are unnecessarily complicated just to make you think like how calm your mind whenever you're interpreting the code. Mystery of passing the true. If x is equal to x, the type of x, which is boolean, is not equal to number, it's not equal to string, so we return this. So type here is an array, again do not match both, we are returning here. Type null, null is also not a number, not a string, type of null. So basically because of which we are returning as unknown all the cases. Only one question I have for you. If you know that, mention question number 4 and tell what is the type of null in the comment section, okay? I'm not answering, I want you to answer what is the type of null in the comment section, okay? So exercise number 5 is where we have something called a create increment. So create increment returns 2 functions. One is increment, another one is log. If you see here, we have 2 functions. One is increment, another one is log, okay? we are calling the increment 3 times, followed by we are calling the log. Okay, so increment, what we are doing, we are incrementing the count every time whenever you are calling. Log, you are printing this message. Okay, so if you know the answer, mention question number 5 and put your output, whatever the answer that you were able to interpret. Okay, now let's look at the snippet carefully for those who have unable to answer it properly. So the count which is deferred outside can be accessed inside because of the simple property of closure. So whenever you call the create element, the increment method, whatever was written, definitely it is having access to this outer variable count. So every time whenever you're incrementing, the value of count is always incrementing, correct? So which is like it was 0 first, like remember the box example I told. It was 0 first, you called it again, it became 1, you called it again, it became 2. Okay, now we'll go to, let's run the code. Exercise number 5. Okay, so the count is 0 is coming, which is little different than probably what you thought, correct? Because the count was supposed to be, we called it once, which was became 1, second time we called it became 2, third time we called it became 3. So the log, whenever you are printing, it was supposed to be 3, correct? Why it's not 3? So that is, see, these snippets, a lot of people ask me, Vasanth, why you ask such snippets in the videos when we are not going to use it in the day-to-day activity? Listen to this answer very carefully. It is not like the same snippet you are going to use in your day-to-day work. These snippets are created to understand how depth actually you are thinking, correct? Or how keenly you are observing at something. Because let's say tomorrow you join the company and then you start working. The most important point for you to like debug quickly and fix a bug. If you cannot observe the snippets carefully, you cannot debug carefully, or you cannot debug quickly. That is the whole point of asking such snippets in the interview. Okay. Now, let us say what was happened whenever you call create increment, it returned two things, this and this. Meanwhile, even this line got executed, correct? Where the message was initialized with a value of count, which is the value is 0. During the log, you are not printing the count, you are printing the message. So this is the observation that you need to have. So message was never updated. Only here it got called and message value remained as it is. So we are getting the value as 0. If you replace message by count, then probably the value. So the value was 3. You got the point? Why it was 0 and why it is 3. Okay. Now let's go to another important exercise number 6. Okay. Okay. So now exercise number 6 we are. So where we are calling a function called test. We are trying to log a variable a which is defined in line number 5 whose value is 1. Okay. And then we have a function foo which is returning a value 2. Okay. And we are calling that function as well from line number 3. Okay. So you are calling the test. As soon as you call a test, the first thing that happens is console log of a whose value is actually, you have to tell. If you know the answer, mention question number 6 and put that in the comment section. I'm going to explain in a while. And then you're calling the function foo which is actually returning 2. So there's no doubt line number 3 would print 2 only because you're returning a numerical value. So there's no brainer. Line number 6 will be printing 2 only. Line number 2, what it will be returning is the question. As you know, the variable created as var keyword is hoisted, obviously. Hoisted and initialize the value of undefined. So whenever this block is coming, a actually went to the top and value of a is undefined, correct? I think most of you are aware of this hoisting concept. If you don't know, again, I'll link my video in the description section. Please go ahead and watch it. So undefined and 2 will be the output. Let's see whether I am right or not. Okay. As I told, it is undefined and 2. Okay. Now let's go to the next snippet, exercise number 7. This is very tricky, huh? I'm sure at least some of you will not be able to answer it properly. If you are able to answer number 7 correctly, please mention that in the comment section without taking much time. Let's say in a minute you are able to guess this answer absolutely right with proper reasoning. Consider you are like almost fit for most of the JavaScript related interviews. Okay. So where we have a simple object called person and person has a name which is Alice and we have a function called greet which is actually a function. Okay. What we are doing in line number 7, line number 8, we are assigning person number greet to greet and then we are calling the greet. Okay. Function greet is basically printing hello, my name is this dot name which is actually Alice. My name is Alice. Okay. So now where basically this always refers to a caller, as you very well know. There is a priority of this. I am not going to dig very. Most of you might have answered hello, my name is Alice as the answer. Let us see what is actually the output. Okay. See output, if you see here, hello, my name is undefined. Okay, which is very important and very tricky. I want you to like look at it carefully. Why like my name is undefined, correct? My name is undefined because whenever you initialize person dot greet into this greet a separate variable, right? You understand things carefully, like how this object is actually defined. You see a name, right? This name is basically person is an object where you are having a name and whose value is Alice. Then you have a greet which is actually referencing a function. So this function is actually referencing to a particular memory location. I hope you agree. And that memory location is basically assigned to a variable called greet, correct? So this memory location of this greet and name, they are all inside the person, correct? So let's say whenever you call person.greet, not this way, I'm going to tell in a different way. That time it would reference the name which is a part of that object that this would reference. In this case, what will happen is person.greet, whenever you're extracting, it is just like any other normal function reference. So variable greet will hold person.greet which is pointing to a memory location. In that case, there is no this. Okay. So we are getting the value of this dot name as undefined. So we are getting hello, my name is undefined. If you want the greet actually to know that you are a part of person, then what you could do is we could bind it. Okay. We could bind this to a person. Let's say whenever we do this, then it knows that that greet function belongs to the person object. In that case, it would know name is actually Alice. Let me run the code. Okay, so you see like hello, my name is Alice in this case. I hope you got the difference. Whenever you just assign person.greet, you are referencing actually a global function. But whenever you bind it to that person, then you are referencing to this particular object where the this dot name is defined. Okay. So if you really answer this question properly with right explanation, please mention that in the comment section like I told. Let's go to exercise number 8. Very simple snippet, looks very simple. Okay. So where we are calling x equal to 1 and we have a function console.log of 2, let x equal to 2. Okay. We have two x here. One is a global x, one is a local x. Okay. So whenever we have two x's, or whenever you have two variable with same name which is also present on the global scope and which is also present on the local scope, you very well know the priority is given to the local scope. So line number 5, whatever you define x equal to, that has highest priority than this. So now in line number 4, whatever console.log of x we have, it is definitely running with respect to the inside x. So outer x you totally ignore. So inner x is producing the value. What value it is producing is something you need to tell. If you know the answer, please mention that in the comment section. If not, let me execute the code. Okay. We are getting a reference error, cannot access x before initialization. You all know this. Okay. Property of hoisting again. If you don't know, watch my video. So where it's clearly told like x is defined in line number 5. If you try to access it in line number 4, we get a reference error. Correct. Let's make a small tweak here, which is like just for to check like how much you know I am doing this. In this case, what will be the output? Can you try guessing? I have not changed anything. I have not initialized x with anything. I have just written x in line number 4. I am trying to log it in line number 5. Okay. What will be the output? In that case, it is undefined. Correct. So all variables that are declared and not initialized will give a value of undefined. Okay. Now we'll go to exercise number 9. I have two variations of it just to like little bit tickle your mind. So now I am actually doing a simple object destructuring here. A colon x, b colon y, and here I have a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2 and c is equal to 3. If you know the answer, I'm sure most of you will be able to answer this correctly. Please mention that in the comment section. So the answer would be very straightforward, 1 and 2, because a, we are assigning the value of a to a new variable called x. We are assigning the value of b to a new variable called y. So here in the right hand side, a is 1, b is 2. So console.log x comma y, which is like 1 comma 2, which is no brainer, correct? Let's do one very interesting thing here. Okay, the second snippet. Let me zoom in a bit so that you could see it properly. So now you have a is equals to like again ax. Here you see 10. Most of you know it is a default value. Whenever a particular object you are not getting the actual value, you are assigning it to default value. Lot of cases you will be doing that in TypeScript. Whenever you have a variable function taking a variable, you will define a default value. Let's say it's a string, you define like empty string. It's a boolean, you define like true or false as the default value. Okay, so those arguments are actually not mandatory. If you have a default value, you could skip them. Okay, now a is equal to x, you are assigning the value of a into x. If there is no a, then it will become 10. Okay, but if there's a exists, which is 1, so value of x would be 1 here. And we have y, whose value is actually default values 20. But let's say B is also defined here with a value of undefined. So B is undefined here. So the value of Y should be what? You guess. And we have a C which is actually referencing the value of C is assigned to Z. But there is no C here. Correct? C is not exist. So default value is 30. So X and Z are already defined, which is the value of X is 1. Value of Z is 30 because C has not present on the object. The only tricky part is Y. Actually, Y is we are assigning the value of B. B value is undefined. So what will be the output? You mentioned in the comment section. If not, please check my code now. It is 1, 20 and 30. Okay. See, we have B here whose value is undefined. Still it is not getting added to the object or the Y here. The reason for that is the whole point of assigning default value is whenever the value is undefined or like value is not at all passed, use the default value. Okay, a lot of people do not know this. So because of which though be present here, we are initializing the value as 20. But think from the practical point of view, why JavaScript, somebody who developed this has made this feature would be, if it has a legit value of 20 or legit value of something, there is a high chance the program would execute properly than initializing it with undefined, because of which value of Y is 20. Now let's go to last snippet, the 10th snippet. Okay. So we have an async function, okay, where we are awaiting inside that, where we are resolving the promise or resolve of hello. Almost immediately we would do this, but definitely JavaScript takes into event loop and all the concepts exist, as you very well know. So where we are doing console.log of result and console.log of world. Okay. So this is returning almost immediately because we are not keeping any set timeout or anything. This particular promise is written immediately, correct? So in this, the problem here is, or the crux of the problem is, which log is executed first. Okay, this is almost an easy question for most of the middle level engineers. For a fresher, you can still think and tell what the order it would execute. Okay, let me execute the code for you. So it is world followed by hello. First we are printing the world and then we are printing the hello. That's the difference. The reason for that is, despite it is returning almost immediately, JavaScript has certain keywords that are known to it. Whenever such keywords appear, JavaScript thinks that these are the keywords that I need to process asynchronously. Okay, because of which it will be keep moving those into asynchronous block, and it will execute the synchronous things first and then it will take that. Because of which world is printed first, followed by the result. Okay, as simple as that. I have all the 10 snippets that whatever I asked in the particular video. I'm going to put that in my GitHub repository, or the new book that I'm publishing. I'm going to part of that book, and I put the link in the description section so that you can copy the snippets and practice on your own. And that's all for the video. If you like the video, please like the video, comment whatever you felt honestly. Please share the video with your friends so that they can also get benefited. And if you're not subscribed to my channel CareerwithVasanth, please subscribe. More such content I'll be always putting. See, videos are made once in a while, but lot of such contents I'll be keep putting on my LinkedIn. So if you've not followed my LinkedIn account, please follow. Link in the description section, where I put lot of technical concepts on a day-to-day basis. Okay, be a part of our Telegram group where we have 3,100 plus front-end developers all across the world. I'm going to share a lot of interesting things. Day-to-day discussions we cannot make a video on that. A lot of such good discussions happen in the group. So be a part of that. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next video.